Sanibonani Makaya, and welcome to another edition of Dlala Mzansi. Igama lami Vuyo Macoba. Today is a special show dedicated to celebrating those that are doing well in their respective sporting fields. And today we are celebrating former Springbok player and now author of the Being a Black Springbok, the Thando Manana story, with Kickoff magazine editor Sbusiso Mjikeliso. A book he says is a challenge to black African athletes in this country to own their stories. Thando Manana was the third black African player to don a Springbok jersey after unification in 1992 when he made his debut in 2000. His route to the top of the game was unpredictable and unusual. From his humble beginnings in the township of Brighton, New Brighton, Port Elizabeth, Thando grew to become one of the grittiest loose forwards of South African rugby, despite only starting the game at the age of 16. Without wasting any more time, sitting with me is the man we are celebrating today, Thando Manana. Baba ndiyabulela ukuthi ube la showini namhlanje.
Kubulela mna, it's quite an honor to be amongst Soweto people. I think it's my first time coming to Upper Soweto, so it's an honor and a privilege.
Abanye bakwazi ezupa, abanye bakwazi ezuthando. Yes. One thing I've realized going through the book as well, ukuthi there's a name Yaga Desmond that pops up. Tell us about that.
Look, the name was never my name. At the time of colored schools opening up to African kids, my mom then decided to enroll me because she was working at jet stores at the time, and she had colored friends. So she got the niche that, look, you can take your kid to a school called Galvin Park at the time. She did that. So when we got to Galvin Park, my name was Thando Manana, simple. But not knowing that she was pulling a trick up her sleeves, and then she inserted the name Desmond in pencil. So when we wrote the book, fortunately enough, I took Sbu down to the school because it's important that you go on the same footprints or the foot paper trail, for example, if one were to call it that, to follow the real one. So when we got there, we finally saw that she had actually inserted that name with a pencil, of which we did document it. So that was the name I was given, which I used for 10 years, but I abandoned the name after standard 10 because it was never my name.
How was growing up for Thando Manana? Before your introduction to rugby, there's drama there, there's cricket, there's soccer. How was growing up for Thando Manana?
Look, as an inquisitive young boy that I was, you know, I always make up not even make up, but tell people that I started smoking once and I never smoked again because I was caught trying to smoke by my grandmother, and I never smoked up until
that's
today.
The one in the toilet.
In the toilet, yeah. So I think that's a type of person I was, inquisitive. If I see someone doing it, I'll also try and do it. But also, if I see other kids playing something, I want to be part of that. If guys are going to the beach, we used to go to the beach, then New Brighton Beach. We used to walk to the beach. We're not allowed, but I would walk with them. But I would get caning when I come back because I didn't know that when you go into the sea, you know, the salt water, that your parents can actually see because you've got a dry skin. So that's how we were actually caught in those days. But that was part of growing up. I think also what's important is, I always say this, is you've got to allow kids to play each and every sport or any activity, recreational purposes, so that they get what they want initially, that they want to follow through in life. I think many people are forcing, because your father was a soccer player, you must be a soccer player. No, it wasn't like that. So I think for me, that's the type of person I was. I was very competitive. I was not jealous. I was a sport guy. I took defeat, I took the wins, but for me what was important was to make the friendships along the way.
Then drama comes in the book, then there's cricket, then now the introduction to rugby. How does that come? And looking at the fact that when you talk about the drama, it was something that you were doing very, very well. So one could have said, you could have said then, you know what, I want a career out of this, but then the introduction to rugby comes in for you.
When I got to high school, which is St. Thomas High School from Galvin Park, I arrived at the same time as Ashwell Prince. Ashwell Prince went on to captain the cricket South African side. When I got into standard 6, I had a guy called Leroy Newton, who in fact is in London currently. He's the agent of Luvo Manyonga. That's the guys that I walked with in my path. Those were the guys that were very good at sports. We not only looked up to them, we played with them. But for me, I knew that I needed something because I was quite an average guy at sport, you know. So if people went for provincial trials, I wouldn't make it, you know, but I was playing with them. So when I was introduced to drama, when you speak of the exuberance that I had for it was mainly because The first time I was on stage, I enjoyed it. You know, standing in front of the people was always for me something maybe it was a God-given talent, you know, to talk in front of people. But now to act was also another niche in my life. So I want something after the conclusion of a school play competition in the Eastern Cape. And then I said, hold on a minute, I think I'm not maybe meant to do sport. I'm meant to maybe go towards drama. But in Standard 8, I got the big role in The Curse of the White Waters, where I was the actor, the main actor.
You were the king.
I was the king, yes. Now, in that play, I won Best Actor. I got an offer to go to Rhodes, but I was still in Standard 8. So I still had 2 more years before I could pursue a Bachelor of Arts in Grahamstown at Rhodes because of the award I'd won. And also the school won the provincial in its second year. We won it, and I was Best Actor there. So in Standard 8, I was not playing rugby at all. So Standard 9, as you said, introduction, in a carport outside school, Mr. Martin, a guy called Mr. Martin at the time, was a geography teacher, came to me as I was about to leave. He said, look, we've got a game against Otto du Plessis. We're trying to put up a rugby side. Can you just come in just to assist? So I thought about it. I said, okay, I'll do so. So I trained with the guys. I didn't have talks. I didn't have anything. So he borrowed me his at the time. And it was on a Wednesday. It clashed with the drama class, but I said, you know, what the heck, you know, I'll try this thing. And I scored 4 tries on the day, you know, learning in between. I took a liking to it. It was a matter of, I've started this thing, I'm going to stand by it because I think I'm finding something that I like. And our school, it was the first rugby side ever, you know, and I was made captain, and I did ever so well. That same year, I made the EP under-17 team. So it just tells you that, you know, if you've got that self-belief, you know, you don't listen to the wind that blows, you know, you listen to the heart. You can always achieve. You can always get lenda ifuna. People like to listen to what other people are saying. You know, if you, as example, as a presenter, you're listening to other people, you won't go anywhere. But if you listen to yourself, you rectify your own presenting type of skill, you'll become better at it.
Now we've come to the point where now you are introduced to the rugby. After the break, we're going to take it from there now, where you've been introduced to the game, and just leading up to you forming part of the Springboks, leading up to your Craven Weeks, but we'll talk about that after the break. Remember, you can also join in the conversation via our social media platforms. We are at Soweto TV channel Tina, and using the hashtag Dlala Mzansi, ningaxhumana nathi. We continue with the conversation after the break. Ungayi ndawo.
Jake White had written about Thando Manana in his book called In Black and White, and he had written about Thando Manana's incident in Tukuman when Thando Manana refused to be initiated after making a Springbok debut. And Jake White wrote of it not in the sense that obviously it was controversial, but he said it changed the dynamic, it changed the way people think about Springbok rugby and transformation, that it's not merely black and white that should be integrated. It's a merger of cultures, because nobody in that playing dressing room had ever gone through the Xhosa initiation process. So how then could they understand when Thando said, I've been initiated as a man, I can't be re-initiated by you lot?